Hey there, Squirrel Army! It's time to assemble some angels in this new precon upgrade guide. This is Divine Conviction Upgrade Guide. So, as always, the best place to start with all of these commander decks is having a look at the face legendary to see what it wants us to do with the deck to give us a general idea of the things that we might want to look at when we're making cuts and when we're putting cards in. So, our commander here is Khalsa, the Broken Halo. So, I hope that's right. She has Convoke, which is pretty good for a 6 drop. Oh, yeah, 6 drop. Flying and Vigilance and Haste, so that's good because it'll come out and do something right away, potentially. Whenever you cast another spell with that has Convoke, you scry 2, then draw a card. So we want to convoke lots of things in this deck and get additional advantages. So we want things that sort of have passive abilities that we can have on our field that do stuff for us and slow down our opponents, so that we can just use them to convoke bigger and better and badder and more useful things out. Yeah, but it's any spell that has convoke, so we also want to run as many convoke spells as possible. But we want to get this angel out as quickly as what we can. Of course, we'll be running a few things to do that, but again, we still have to have a few creatures probably that will help us convoke this out. We might want some like token generating stuff so that we can convoke more easily. That wouldn't be too bad, though I don't want to go too far down that route. I'm not sure how much Convoke stuff's in these colours. Convoke's normally a green mechanic, though white does get it. I don't think red has much of it, and I don't think blue has hardly any. Though I could be wrong, I do think I did see 1 or 2 spells in the new set that were blue that did have Convoke. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and maybe like blue has 500 Convoke spells, and I'm just like, oh wow, I didn't realize that it had so many Convoke cards. But yeah, that's what we want to do. So like, we can get a lot of value from our Convoke spells, and we can convoke our creatures pretty easily. Like, we do need some very good utility creatures, and we do need some strong bombs to try to win the game somehow, or some sort of combos or something. A lot of the convoke spells aren't going to be like that amazing because a lot of them are just instant sorceries. Like, we could have a couple of them, but I wouldn't want to use too many of them because like a lot of them don't do a whole lot for the most part, and just scrying 2 and drawing a card as an additional benefit is nice, but it isn't that much of an amazing ability. Like, Helm of the Host is obviously pretty good with this as well, because just getting more of what our commander wants to do is just really good. Helm of the Host is almost always good. But it's just one of those things. We could try to clone our commander in other ways as well, but I don't know how much that actually helps us in doing what we're trying to do. Maybe that's a deck list thing that, again, perhaps they've printed a lot more cards than what I think they've printed for this strategy. So I'll have to have a look in just a sec. But just in initially thinking about this, it seems like almost this is a commander that a lot of people, in my opinion, wouldn't pick. It's kind of a cool build around, but it's not nearly that strong, really. Like, scry 2 and draw a card isn't that amazing of a text for a payoff for a card. Like, honestly, like, you know. But again, that's what this deck will mostly want to do. So, like, trying to do a whole lot of other stuff is a lot harder. So that's what I found out with that Tavit deck. Like, when I was doing that upgrade guide, it was like, dude, this deck is nowhere near built for this commander. But like, Tavit was just so much cooler. That it was like, well, might as well go down this route and see where it leads. But anyway, let's go and have a look at the deck list.
You can join the Screw Army by subscribing.
Alright, so finished up this one. Honestly, I feel like the sub commander in this deck is a lot better. I don't know whether I really said that before, but I do feel like it's a lot better than the face commander. Just being able to tap it and untap it seems quite good if you can figure out a way to do that. Like Intruder Alarm seems good with that. And a couple of things maybe, like some of the creatures that actually tap to untap a creature or untap a permanent or whatever, those sorts of things. So yeah, there are a few shenanigans we could do there and whatnot. But hey, we're here at the moment, and yeah, that's up to you guys to really decide. Though I do think it is a lot better, but we have missed a few cards because again, not all the cards come through. It takes too long to wait for those cards. And before I get too far in explaining the cards that I've cut, cards that I've added, whatnot, that sort of stuff, again, if you guys don't really care about the explanations and all that stuff, check out the deck list in the comments below. You can just do whatever you want to do with it then and move on with your lives if you're not one to really care about all this stuff, because I know some people are like that and just want to figure out what's going on with the deck and whatnot and just, okay, cool, that's cool. I know what I'm expecting. I know roughly how to play this deck probably with what you suggest. Let's go, let's do it. Let's proxy it up or whatever. Let's go for it. So, lands, as always. Not many changes for the most part. Just cut the bad tap lands and added some basics. You can obviously do a lot better job than that, but this is the most simple and easy job to do whenever you get a deck like this. Just cut the bad tap lands, add some basics. If you've got the deck in front of you, you can figure out the number of pips that you've got in your deck and figure out how many of each land that you should have very easily. But that is what it is. I'm not going to go through the lands and the cuts because, again, same reason that they got cut was because they're just bad tap lands. So, Angel of Finality, not terrible, but not amazing. We just get to exile someone's graveyard when it enters. Like so. Like that can help us, but honestly it's not that big of a deal for the most part. If we're really caring about hating on people's graveyards, we can run a lot more better graveyard hate than this. Plus it doesn't have flash, so I always find that if you super duper need to exile people's graveyards, you need to exile it at instant speed because they're probably just going to win. So yeah, that's a lot of negatives against it. The Banisher Priest, basically, it takes something and it puts it in the box underneath it, so or exile it under the box. So yeah, that it can be useful, and I know there are combos that you can do with these sorts of things and whatnot. Actually, I don't think you can do it with this one or whatnot, but still, I know there are some that are out there with some of these cards and whatnot, but they're just not that amazing unless you're actually doing that thing. They really don't do enough, I don't think, so whatever. Battle Screech, nice to make some tokens, but these one-off token generators usually aren't that good. It is pretty good because you get at least more tokens out of it. You can tap your creatures. And we do have some creatures that do care about being tapped and whatnot, or untapping and that sort of thing. So it's not that terrible, but I just don't think it does enough for us. So, oops. Chasm Stalker. Again, it can make a few tokens for us, but we've got to kill it. And once it gets really big, it's really hard to kill. So, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of like sack outlets in this deck. And to make it into a deck that would have a lot of sack outlets or enough sack outlets just is a completely different deck and is going in a completely different direction just for this one card. So I just don't see the point in it really. The fairies, it's basically a free spell, but so I don't know, a 1/1 flyer for free isn't that amazing. It can do tapping for manas or tapping for convokes or whatever, but it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't have enough other text. And just cycling away for 2, no, I don't think that's worth our time. The caravan, like what? Again, we do, or I did add a lot of stuff that cares about being tapped or untapped, but again, just that isn't enough. We already have a whole bunch of convoke stuff. I just don't think we need this. I felt like we already had enough mana rocks in the deck, and just a 5/5. Yeah, that's okay, but it doesn't have any evasion, so just nah. And we don't really care enough about it. The mage, like, it could destroy an artifact or enchantment, or both. That's okay, but again, like, it's sorcery speed, so no. Elspeth isn't bad, making the tokens. Protects itself, gives us bodies to convoke with. It can wrath away our opponent's stuff, can buff up our stuff, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. I don't know. Maybe it does belong in the pile, but I just don't think it does. It doesn't do enough at 6 mana, I don't think. Just 3 1/1s for 6 isn't where I think you want to be. The Emeria Angel, like, it's not terrible, but again, I think it's a bit too slow, and we're not a lands deck. We can't really make extra land plays very much in these sorts of decks, so I don't think it can really do a whole lot in this deck. Power Stone, we're not doing enough with the planar dice, so not really that worth it. Plus, it doesn't fix our colors, so again, not really worth our time. The Investigator comes with another Goblin, but again, that's not enough text, in my opinion. The Elixir, we're not doing that stuff. Plus, it's probably too much mana for too little it's too much investment for too little payoff, rather. Better say that a different way. But the Alliance, again, we can get fairies and whatnot off of it, which can power our Convoke, but I just felt like it didn't have enough text with what we're doing specifically, so I just decided we can cut it. The Keeper, like, we don't want to be behind people, so, and if we are behind people, we want more efficient ways to catch up than this. It is a consistent effect, but there are a lot of other consistent effects that are less, so no. Kaikar, like, we don't have that many non-creature spells. Not that we have none, but I just didn't think that it was going to do a whole lot. Like, sometimes you think this can do something sometimes, and it's okay if it can do something. But with this one, I just felt, nah, it could do something, but probably not enough. And not enough in what we're doing. Mentor of the Meek. We do have some lower powered creatures, so it could be alright. But again, a lot of the stuff that I was looking up and found actually was just doing a whole lot more with the strategy that we had, and I had to cut something. So I just decided to cut it. Migratory Route, just a one-off effect, just not worth our time. The Kraken, again, making it bigger and then you have to kill it. Oh no, you don't have to kill this one. You'd make them with it. But still, it doesn't do enough specifically with what we're doing. It still can be good, but again, it's not specific enough. Secure the Waste, just this one-off effect, not going to cut it. The Seraph of the Masses. It is a Convoke card, but it's pretty big. I think it was a card I had to cut because all the other cards that I added just added way too much other stuff to the deck, and it was one of the worst cards that I could find in the pile when I was trying to make last minute cuts. So, the Inspired Companion draws us a card so it can tap for Convoke and whatnot afterwards and that, but just that isn't enough. That isn't enough text for us. I don't think so. Suture Priest, again, it's not bad effects to gain life, and it's not bad effects for our opponents to lose life. But honestly, we can make our opponents lose life a lot easier and a lot more synergistically. It's not a terrible card, but I don't know. I would want it in a deck that really cares more about us gaining life or really taxing our opponents or whatnot. So, I don't know. Just decided to take it out because I just didn't see the reasons for it. Umezawa, I don't really understand why he's in here. Like, it can make a bunch of our smaller stuff unblockable, but I don't know, that's not really worth our time, I don't think, that much, because we want to buff our stuff anyway, just to kill our opponents quicker. Locust God, again, when we draw cards, we get those things that we can use for Convoke, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like, well, honestly, we didn't have that much card draw. Like, I added some, but again, it is very specific. And this is very specific to a degree. It is good because it doesn't die per se, but I just felt at 6 mana we could get other things that just do more and whatnot. So the Bell Ring, I do like this in this deck specifically, but I do feel like it's a very one-off effect. So I just thought, nah, let's cut it. Whirlwind of Thought, cast non-creature, we draw a spell. We draw a spell. Yeah, we draw a card. But anyway, that's probably not enough text for us to really care. Didn't add any sorceries to the pile. Did we add any instants? I don't think we added any instants, did we? Pretty sure we did not. No, I don't think we added any instants. I'm pretty sure I don't remember adding any instants. I know we added one enchantment, City on Fire. I already talked about this enchantment in a fairly recent video. But it does have Convoke, so that is what we care about. You know, we care about the Convoke. Plus, hey, triple damage. That's pretty good. So yeah, that's well worth our time, certainly. Terms of art, actually, I think I added a bunch of these mana rocks, didn't I? That's right. I added Bauble, Talisman of Progress, Talisman of Conviction, Rugnan Crystal. I'll talk about that in a second. Felwar Stone, Boros Signet, Azorius Signet. And I added an Obelisk of the Erd because, again, we are doing Convoke things, and it convokes. We have to choose a creature type. I don't know which type we'll choose, but just a quick glance at what the deck contains. Human is the most. So then Wizard. So you name Human or Wizard, probably Human. It's probably going to be okay. So yeah, that's probably all right. Plus it has Convoke, so it's fine. This is fine. Now, cards that we added. The Worshippers. Inspired is a pretty decent mechanic for us because whenever we untap our stuff, we can pay the cost and get some kind of benefit out of it. This one makes a 2/2 bird, so that's alright. It can help us make the Convokes easier and easier and easier, and that's really good for us and really on theme. The Sphinx, again, Inspired's pretty good. And this one draws us most of our deck, so that's pretty good. It is 6 mana, but again, it is a 4/5 flyer, so when we're not convoking it, we can do and attack with it. Actually, gaining vigilance in this deck will be a really powerful effect as well, so I do suggest any kind of vigilance or mass vigilance effects. Bernie, um, it only cares about us making tokens and it only works once, but again, it has Convoke, so it is on theme, I feel. The Engineer makes our artifacts be able to tap for Convoke, or tap our creatures for artifacts, essentially, so making our creatures into mana rocks. Pretty useful sometimes. The Phalanx, we gain 1 life for each creature we control, plus it has Convoke. Pretty good. That was in the deck. The Spirit Binder, when it untaps, again inspired, we can pay 2 and we can create a token that's a copy of another creature. It gains haste and we exile at the beginning of the end step. We can use that for Convoke or whatever. We can use it for an attack, whatnot, or just getting any ETB, dies, whatever triggers, etc. that we might be having. Ghostly Pilferer, this is one of the best cards, I think, that people keep forgetting about. Like, especially for this deck, it's right on theme. When it becomes untapped, we can pay 2, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, we draw a card. And we can discard cards to make it unblockable. So that's all pretty good and pretty useful. Godfavor General, again, inspired untapping. We can pay 3 to make 2 1/1 white soldiers. So that's pretty good. Make more bodies so that we can, again, convoke more easily. And we can get more stuff out of those creatures eventually by doing stuff with them or whatnot. The Scrounger, when it becomes tapped, we can loot. So that's pretty good. The Mascot has Convoke, Ward 3, enters the battlefield. You can look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Like, again, I don't love like some of these that have one-off effects, but again, that's kind of what we have to live with sometimes because we have to convoke things for the most part. The Currents, when we tap it, we gain a life for each merfolk. Or we gain a life for each tap of a merfolk, but in other words, we tap it, we gain a life. Errant of Eros has Convoke, enters, we look at the top 6 cards of our library, reveal 2 creature cards with mana value X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures convoked with it, and then we put them into our hand and shuffle. So we're only going to get 5 mana's worth, so at most. So, but still, that's all right. Nice card advantage. It is one off, but the Restorer, we just convoke and gain 4 life. The Puzzle Master, when it becomes tapped, we scry 1, so getting that card advantage. Some of these aren't that amazing, but again, they're continuous or they're consistent. So, and again, the Convoke gets around them not having haste. So, yeah, that's good. When it becomes tapped, we gain 2 life, so that's all right. The Racer, when it becomes tapped, loot, so that's all right. Homunculus has Convoke, Vigilance as well, and when it enters the battlefield, we can clone something. Oh no, this is the tap a creature and stun it. That's not the clone one. The clone one's the other one. There's a lot of ones that are similar. The Wheelsmith becomes tapped. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So giving something unblockable pretty useful. Herbalist, we gain 1 life and scry 1 when it becomes tapped. So pretty good. The Ace, when it becomes tapped, we exile the top 6 cards of the library. We may cast a vehicle or artifact creature spell from among them, put the rest on the bottom of our library in a random order. As long as an artifact creature you control is attacking, you prevent all damage that will be dealt to this guy. So that's probably irrelevant because we're going to be tapping it for Convoke. So, but whatever, it still does something pretty useful. The Nick Smith Inspired untaps, pay 3. If we do, we put a 3/1 elemental creature token into the battlefield again. Very useful. Scareteller gets lands from our graveyard or from our hand onto the battlefield when we tap it, so that's pretty darn useful. The Sphinx's Disciple becomes tap, draw a card, so that's real good. The Infiltrator deals the damage to each of our opponents, so we've got to kill our opponents some way, so that's a pretty good way to do it. The Schoolmaster makes a 1/1 creature when it becomes tapped, and the Singer has Convoke, Vigilance, Flying. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it. So that's pretty darn good as well. And that is the list of cards there. You guys can tell me what you guys think of this list. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed this one and hope you will join me again in the next one.